live at Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks. I'm the host, DJ I Tell You What, and I have my dad here with me, my co-host, Cowboy Joe 64, aka Capricorn 1 on Twitter.
I am your father. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
And we're back with another one. And we just came back off of a loss from Houston. It was a good game up until about the fourth quarter, and we got to see a lot from the young players. And so there's been a lot going on in Cowboys Nation. A lot of speculation on what's going to happen next year as far as what route we're going to go. And Stephen A. made some comments today that's got a lot of people's attention, talking about Jerry and his mental capabilities and his faculties, and just think that he's not doing good and health wise because of the decisions that they make and the decisions that they've been making. But we have some kind of have a little pushback on that, and we have our reasons. So you wanted to say what's up to the people and kind of speak on why you do agree with Stephen A. or don't agree with Stephen A. on what he said?
Hey, what's up, people? Appreciate you guys joining our show. And so on the Stephen A. Comment, I'm pushing back on that because I've been pretty much watching Jerry. He hasn't lost any mental capacity at all. I think what I've been saying here, and I've been saying this for a couple of years, and even Brian Broaddus talked about this on their show yesterday, 105.3. Shout out to Broaddus and the Fan. So Broaddus said, for the most part, what's been happening is Stephen Jones and Will McClay, they're running the franchise, the day-to-day operations, decisions. And then Brian Broaddus also said that the Dallas Cowboy coach has a lot of power in terms of who plays and what happens on Sunday. Jerry and Steven, they don't really get into what happens when the game starts. It's totally on the coaches. Now, the front office probably does from time to time just kind of put a bug in the coach's ear and say, can we at least see if this player can do something, can help? And they do that. But for the most part, Jerry, he hasn't lost anything. And what I've said was, when you look at 28 years and they haven't made the NFC Championship game, one thing you can say about them is they're pretty consistent. And what you could say is, based on some of the things that they're doing, especially like the trade they've made with Trey Lance and Mingo, you can question all of their mental fitness because they do a lot of stuff that just doesn't make any sense. So from that standpoint, you can say, well, they're like not dealing with a full deck, but that's just not the case. They just do what they do. What we're seeing though is a lot of their decisions, they're all just just coming back on them at this point, and we're seeing it on the field. When you do nothing but draft and develop, you don't do anything in free agency, at some point it's going to catch up.
I totally agree with you. If you're going to be a draft and develop team, and then you have injuries, it's going to catch up to you. And then second of all, you can't be a draft and develop team and not have superb drafting skills. And your player evaluation can't be off. See, the reason why I'm pushing back on what Stephen A. said is because you have a franchise that has when Jimmy was here, they built the team based off of Jimmy's scouting eye. And what was the other scout name? The head scout back then?
So it was Jeff Ireland. It was a couple of other guys. It was kind of a team effort.
So it was a team effort, and it was a good team effort because they built a good team. They built the best offensive line, if not in history at that point. And they drafted, the all-time leading rusher of all time right now. They drafted a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame wide receiver. They got the best out of their players that they drafted. Some were undrafted, and they still turned some undrafted players into Pro Bowlers and All-Pros. So after that team left, which was like 94, Jimmy left. 95, it was still his team, even though it was Barry Switzer at the head coach. Since then, they have won 4 playoff games in 28 years, 28 seasons. This will be 29. So that means that the Joneses' decisions that they are making have been the same. Their decisions that have not changed. You know, the things that they're doing the same things that they're doing now. They did back then. Nothing has changed, and so, you know, they're not big spenders in free agency. My big thing is that the player evaluation is off because to me, it's a hierarchy thing. Your player evaluation is more than just is this guy good? Because to me, is this guy good enough to draft? Okay, that's number one. And they make that mistake all the time. They draft players that are just not good and they leave talent on the board that's way better. And so that's one part of player evaluation. The second part of player evaluation is when it comes to second contracts. They give players second contracts that don't deserve to get the contract, like Terrence Steele, like Michael Gallup, like Jalen Smith. Those type of contracts that you end up paying for later on down the line. Like they're gonna have to get rid of Terrence Steele after post June 1 because it was just a dumb contract. And see, everything that the Joneses do, and you're absolutely correct. Jerry is not pulling all of these strings and making all of this stuff happen. It's definitely Stephen Jones. He's Cap Boy. He's the one that's saying that they draft and develop players out of his own mouth. He said that they don't believe in playing and paying free agents. That's not the way to win. He said that out of his own mouth. So, you know, it's him and it's Will McClay that's doing these player evaluations. Taco and Mozzie made it to your board because the coaches told Will McClay what kind of players they were looking for, and he put them on the board. If that was me or anybody else, Taco would not have been on the board. And if he was on the board, he would have been after TJ Watt. So it just, those type of things don't. Your player evaluation is off. Mozzie would have been on the board, but he wouldn't have been on the board before Matthew Bergeron. It just wouldn't have happened that way. Bergeron would have been the pick because he's the better player. So their player evaluation is just totally off. And it's been happening for so long that it just finally caught up to you. And even when it comes down to paying Dak his last contract, okay, they waited the day of the season, hours before kickoff, to sign Dak in a lame duck year to a $60 million contract, to a $60 million APY contract, then made it to where the cap hits are outrageous for the first 2 or 3 years. And then they're going to end up picking 3 or 4, or they can get the best quarterback prospects that we've seen in a while. And they can't even, and they're not even in position to draft those players. They're not even in position to draft Shador or Cam because they did the Dak contract so bad. They made the wrong choice again. They made the wrong choice again, and it's a big wrong choice. It's just like with Jonathan Mingo. I watched Mingo this last game in Houston, and I know it's not a good sample size. You got to watch him with Cooper Rush and all this, but you still want to see some athleticism. You still want to see separation. You still want to see good.
What did you watch him on? What did he look like?
He just didn't look like a good receiver. He didn't block well. He didn't run good routes. He wasn't getting good separation. He wasn't running fast. He wasn't giving any effort. It just looked like the player that we traded for. He looks like
what did Flournoy look like?
Flournoy always looks like an athlete. He does those type of things. He looks big. He looks strong. He looks fast. He looked determined. He looked like he can block. He blocks well. He does those things well. Mingo doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
Brooks doesn't look like that. Mingo doesn't look like that.
And just watching the game, and watching the game Sunday, you can kind of see the trade just really looking like a bad trade because one of the problems they're gonna have, you don't have Dak, and so it's really gonna be hard to get the ball to these guys.
We're gonna lose, so we shouldn't be playing to win. So what we should be doing, what I would be doing is I would be saying, okay, listen, I'll be telling these guys at practice and before the game, I'll be telling them, look, Bingo, Flanore, uh, Schoolmaker, Asim Richards, you guys are gonna determine if this ball moves or not. We not going to CD. We not going to Ferguson when he come off concussion. We going to our running backs and we going to y'all. Asim Richard, we running to your side. Every time we running to your side. When we throw the ball, we throwing it predominantly to your side. Flanore, we throwing to you. Mingo, we throwing to you. If you covered, we throwing it away. That's what I'll be doing. Even though, you know what, if you covered, we still throwing it to you. If it get picked, oh well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what we doing. And so this is going to determine how much you guys play next year. This is it. This is we don't really have these these opportunities where we get to see what y'all really about, because we so focused on winning games and we have to feature our best players. But in this situation, this is evaluation time. This is player evaluation time. And so we finna see, I seen Richard, can you be the swing tackle next year? That's what's finna happen. We finna see Ryan Flanore, can you be a two?
You might have to be the starter left tackle.
We gonna see. We gonna see if you're gonna be the starter left tackle, because we thinking about moving Tyler Guyton to right tackle, and also Tyler Guyton. He would be playing right tackle for me. We're gonna see if you're gonna play right tackle or not. We're gonna see. Go ahead.
So on Tyler Guyton, so Vach Lombardi, shout out to Vach. So Vach is one of the Yodas of the content creators when it comes to offensive line. He really knows his stuff. He's saying that he doesn't think Tyler Guyton will be that much better on the right side. Also, what Vach is saying, he said it a couple of times. He said that Tyler Guyton is not just kind of playing through games. Tyler Guyton is taking himself out of the lineup. He's over on the sideline, not really injured. He's just out of the game. So Vach has mentioned that a couple of times. So when you be talking about your evaluation, they keep drafting these kind of players that when they draft them, you're just like, okay, why did you draft this player? And then you start seeing some of the pre-draft concerns come out. It's like they're drafting these players. Do they even read the report on the player? So it's just really weird how they do this. And so the other thing that they're talking about too, I think is pretty interesting. They really think that Cooper Beebe should play right guard for Martin long term. I kind of agree with that.
Me too.
You know, you would have to get another center, obviously.
Yeah.
And so,
but you can do in free agency with no problem.
Yeah, you need to sign a free agent center, and then figure out what you're doing to tackle. So, you know, one of the things we're gonna talk about with our show and with the Cowboys is you got to look at what can you do to fix the team, to improve, because so we know with our channel, we just kind of in it for the long haul. It's probably not the greatest time to start a Cowboys channel, but with the Cowboys, I mean, you got to be in for the long haul. So that's what we're going to do. So, you know, one of the things we need to talk about is, you know, what can you do to turn the team around? I think you can do it in one off season.
Okay, so let me get my rundown on what I think we should do to turn the team around. I'm gonna go from the top to the bottom. I've been doing this all week, so it's cool for me to do it real quick. So, what you need to do, first of all, and I also probably should go from least or most likely to happen or to least likely to happen. Or I should preface that or say what I think about that. I think you should definitely hire someone outside of the franchise to help you general manage things, or you hire a head coach to help you general manage things like Bill Belichick, Ben Johnson. Those guys wants control over the general manager uh, position. That's why he didn't. That's why Ben Johnson didn't go to Washington because he didn't think that the general managers were good enough and they weren't football guys. And that's also why Bill Belichick didn't get the Atlanta job because he wanted full control over general management. So that's going to be one of the key things for Bill Belichick on where he goes next year between Jacksonville, the Cowboys, and the Giants. Whoever gives him the most control is probably where he's going to end up going. So
And the money.
And the money, of course. So that kind of writes him out of our league if we have the current GM that we have, because number one, Jerry is not going to pay him a lot of money. Number two, he's definitely not going to want to give up control from Steven. Steven is not going to want to give up control, because I think Steven is the most stubborn person. I think Steven is the one that's holding the team back.
Now, remember on the Bill Belichick profile, you've got something that they did before that will probably work. Remember when they hired Parcells?
Yeah.
Parcells kind of had the same expectations, and so he was able to work with them and make it work. And they worked together on a lot of different things. However, Bill Parcells had a lot of say so what kind of players they drafted and who they drafted. So I think the Belichick Dallas thing can work because Bill Belichick and Parcells, they still talk right today. So I actually think it could work. I don't think Bill Belichick is going to come in and say, I want to run everything and it's my way to highway. He'll probably just do exactly what Bill Parcells and Jerry Jones and Steven did. It worked. So it can be done with Belichick. Now, the money, Belichick is going to absolutely want to get paid. Andy Reid is making what? You had that a few weeks ago.
Well, 15, I think Andy Reid was getting, Andy Reid, I don't know, he might have been getting paid like 26.
Yeah, so first of all, Bill Belichick, he's going to ask for 15 to 20 million. So that's the first thing you're going to have to get by.
Yeah, well, Andy Reid making 20 million.
Yeah, so understand that Bill Belichick is not going to take this job making 8, 9, 10 million. So that's going to be the first thing they're going to have, the hurdle they're going to have to clear. I think Belichick will work. I really do. I think he's going to do the same thing that Bill Parcells did. He's going to be.
Point out this too. Yeah. When you have Belichick as well, one of the things that you can compare and contrast from Bill Belichick to the rest of the coaches, and especially the coaches that we've hired, is not only is he going to have a say so in the players that we draft, but he's also going to have a say so, and he's going to have all the say so on all the coaches on the staff. So you see, that wasn't the case with Jason Garrett, and it wasn't the case with Mike McCarthy. It was a list that came out yesterday where they have 103 future head coach candidates. The Dallas Cowboys is the only team that doesn't have a coach on that list.
So Al Harris wasn't on there?
He wasn't. And so they're the only team that doesn't have a coach on that list. And you sent me a list today that said all these upcoming coaches, and it was like at least at 100 names. The Cowboys had one person on there. One. And it wasn't Al Harris. I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't Al Harris. So,
okay. And hold that thought. I want to say something right quick. That's why I've been saying two things, and I've been saying, and a lot of people are pushing back on it. I said to myself, I don't know why people are saying that Al Harris, one, would be a good candidate to be defensive coordinator, and number two, why he would be head coach material, because I don't think he's thought of in the league in those terms. Now, if I had to guess, I'm thinking he'd probably be a better head coach candidate than coordinator. So Al Harris would be sort of like what's the Lions coach? Dan
Campbell.
Yeah, so I think he would fit in with the Aaron Glenn. Now Aaron Glenn has obviously coordinated the defense, so from that standpoint, he's a better candidate than Al Harris. But You look at Baltimore's coach, Harbaugh, he was a special teams coordinator. So Dan Campbell was a tight ends coach. I believe Al Harris at some point will be a good head coaching candidate, but sometimes you have to just get the job to prove yourself. And I would say this: if you told me right tomorrow, if my choices was Al Harris as a head coach or Kellen Moore, I would take Al Harris. But
Yeah.
I said all that to say this, and one other point I was going to make. You know who else wasn't on any of those lists?
Who?
Was Schottenheimer. And again,
No.
and people don't think of him as a good coordinator or a head coach. So, and I wanted to add one more thing, and I'm gonna let you get back to your point. Mike McCarthy, the time that he's been here, 99.9% of the coaches that he's had are people that he hired. These have been his coaches. These were not the only question that you could say about that is with Kellen. There was some talk about the Cowboys recommending Kellen to him, and of course he tried to switch it around and say that was his idea. But all these other coaches, they've been McCarthy hires, all of them for the most part. He had he kept Leon Lett a couple of years. That was a Jerry guy and Steven guy. But these have been McCarthy coaches, and to that point, he's done a terrible job of hiring coaches.
Terrible. Mike Nolan, terrible.
Yeah, Mike Solari.
Terrible. Well, the Kellen Moore thing, it was initially Jerry's, they threw that out there. But Mike McCarthy, he championed it because Mike McCarthy is the ultimate I need a fall guy person. Mm-hmm. So when they pushed that Kellen Moore rhetoric in his face, he just signed up for it because he knew that, okay, well, when the play calling is not good, that buys me more time because I can just say it's Kellen's fault. Just like with the Zeke thing, they pushed Zeke in his face, and he said, "Okay, well, that's fine because when the running game is poor, I could just say, hey, well, y'all wanted Zeke and instead of Derrick Henry, and so this is what we got. So the whole thing is this needs to change, and how this changes is you hire someone like Bill Belichick or Bill Johnson that helps, not takes control, but just helps with the general manager capabilities and the drafting capabilities. Then you need to hire someone that can help you draft and help your player evaluation. You need a great draft this year. You have to hit on the majority of your picks this year.
Okay, now what you just said right there, the candidate that you're looking for that meets those qualifications, that's why I don't want Vrabel or Kellen Moore or the Bears coach or Matt
Eberflus.
You need somebody to come in with some skins on the wall that has coached great players, that has a great system, and that's going to be, Belichick. Ben Johnson, what he's doing offensively with Detroit. But going back to where we started, what Jerry and Steven have done, when the NFL is going right, when the NFL is doing this type of hiring, that's just not what they do. And what they've done, you're looking at a Matt Eberflus, you're looking at Kellen, Vrabel. You told me the other day that he made it to the AFC championship game. I don't remember that.
He did.
But, I guess that is a skin on the wall, but there's nothing in Vrabel's background that says to me that he knows talent, that he knows how to build a team. And that's the thing that I'm kind of concerned about. That list we had today, that one I sent you, and the one that we can pull that up on the next show that we do. We can pull up both of those lists. So let's do that on Friday. But
okay.
The guys on that list that we have, to me, they have better resumes than Mike Vrabel and Kellen and Eberflus. We need to, what the Cowboys going to have to do, they're going to have to change their hiring process. They're going to have to take the list that we saw today in those two articles. They need to interview 15 people off each one of those lists. That's what they need to do to hire. And you just hire the best person that has the best plan, the best state of the art, forward leaning plan and offense. What you don't want to do is you don't want to hire somebody that, you know, they don't have the skins on the wall, or they don't have that, that resume that speaks
Hey,
to.
I can make it simple. What you don't want to do is hire Kellen Moore.
I don't think you want to hire Vrabel.
I mean, and also I'll say this: the only reason why I would be open to signing Vrabel is because my deal is the head coach is not really the hire. The hire is the offensive coordinator and the general manager. That's really it. So that's the hire. So you want a head coach that can help your general manager, that knows talent and that can run the offense. That's really what you want to hire. That's really what the hire is to me. If you hire Mike Vrabel, and then you have Schottenheimer calling your offense, then you didn't do anything. You didn't get better. If you hire Bill Belichick, and you have someone like Schottenheimer running your offense, you didn't do anything. You didn't get better. So you have to have someone like, if you have a Mike Vrabel, but then you hire Mike McDaniel to run your offense.
If he's available.
Cool if he's available, I'm cool with that.
Well, to your point, just hire somebody off his staff.
And they're out there too. Like 2 or 3 people off of Mike McDaniel's staff is there. They're there.
So your model is, if I talk about Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, who's another coach? Obviously Belichick was the same coach, but I think Belichick is kind of on his own island.
Yeah, but you don't have to mention him.
So Vrabel,
Dan Quinn.
So if you hire a coach like Dan Quinn and you have a terrific coordinator, offensively and defensively, that's the model that you like. And I think your Uncle Eric kind of feels the same way. But me,
the model that I like Kansas City model. I want the guru offensive coordinator, and I want the guru defensive. The model that I want is Ben Johnson and Robert Saleh.
That's the
model. That's what I want. I want Ben Johnson and Robert Saleh. That's what I want.
And to me, with Dak, you paid Dak. Dak is at the part of his game where it's kind of like Romo was at the end of his career, where he's mastered the game. Dak is going into that master phase. All Dak needs is a terrific, genius coordinator.
That's it.
And he will be fine.
Okay, so I'm kind of be all over the place.
I don't think that I don't know if Dak has a coordinator, if he's going to reach that master stage. I think he needs the head coach to be the master.
Yeah. Okay. So let me say this. So what's the guy name? Okay. So all of these things can come together. So I think that they have to, if we're going to stick with Dak, they have to revamp their line, because Dak is going to need time. He's not mobile anymore. He's at that master stage where he really doesn't have to do a lot. He just needs to be at that stage to where he can diagnose defense and get the ball to open receivers. Okay.
And one quick point, your offense scheme may fix your line by itself.
That's a great point. So they have to do that. They have to get the offensive scheme, and they have to get a great offensive line. They got to get healthy on defense, and they have to get better in the trenches, whether you do that through the draft or through free agency. And they obviously have to use free agency, and you have to use free agency more than you've ever done before. If you want to switch this team around, you got to get like 7 or 8 free agencies, and you don't have to go get T. Higgins. You don't have to do that. You can get several cheap, good free agents, like how Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is making 5 per. Like that, like how Joe Mixon is making 8, 9 million, like that. You can do that, with you can do that with your offensive line. You can do that with defensive linemen. So you're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to do that with linebackers as well. And so then also, that's not gonna take 5 years to do. What we just said,
you can do it in one off season.
You can do it in one off season. And let's just be clear, this is not a bad team. Okay, we do got a bad coach, but we do have a good offense that can work if those few things are tweaked. We just got hit with a lot of injuries this year, so we just got to upgrade. But also, I want to say this: drafting Shador or Cam is not going to change that either. If they draft Shador or Cam, they can still build their team and use free agency. If you draft Shador or Cam with your top pick, and you still picking in the top of each round, you normally pick 25 through 28. You normally pick 25 through 28. So if you're picking 30, 32nd through 36th, or 32nd, no, 33rd through 37, that's essentially equal to picking 25th. So whoever you were going to take in the first round, when you pick 28th, you can take that same player or someone just like him, or someone with that same pedigree at 36 or 37. So you could absolutely draft Shador and Cam and work out the math if you wanted to. Now, will the Cowboys do that? Probably not.
Yeah, no.
But other teams, but if you wanted to, you could. And if you wanted to, you would. So that's that. I mean, you can. What I would do is, I would have a slam dunk pick for the future, and then I would build my team through the rest of the draft and free agency.
So I think one of the things we want to do with our show is sometimes a lot of fans, and sometimes people will they'll have all of these different types of trade ideas, and a lot of trades it's just not realistic. So we want to try to do with our show is just kind of stick with things that are like realistically possible. So I think just right now, the way it stands, them doing Shador or Cam, because of the way they've signed Dak and the way the contract is, could they do it? But it'll just be a lot of ramifications behind it. So I would just probably say we'll just stick with something more realistic. And what's realistic at this point is them having a fourth or fifth pick, and then them just staying there and just taking a great player. I could absolutely see a scenario where Travis Hunter gets to Dallas, and the way he gets there is because the teams at the top of the draft, Travis Hunter and his agent will just tell him, "I'm not playing for you," and so it's going to be somebody else that has to come up and get him. So I think that's realistic. I think also what's realistic is Ted McMillan, the receiver from Arizona. So those are the kind of things that, what I would hope Dallas will do. If we end up with a fourth pick, I hope they just stay there and pick a player. And if they're going to move down, if you go from like 4 to 7 or 4 to 6 and pick up some extra picks, that would be terrific. But what I don't want to see them do is they're picking fourth and they trade down to 14. And then that's when you bring all of the problems that we've had at drafting back into the forefront, because we haven't done a good job.
And I don't want to see them trade from 4 to 6 or 7 and then take the tackle from Texas over Ted McMillan.
Broadus and Vaj said that they believe that the tackle from Texas is actually going to play guard in the NFL, but they don't have him rated in the top 10. They don't have him, so he wouldn't be somebody that you would take that high. And you don't want to trade back and take him either.
Right. So I would definitely be looking at drafting Travis if he's there.
If we have the fourth or fifth pick in a draft, it's absolutely possible that he gets there.
I think he's gonna go to Jacksonville number 1 off top, and I think that Bill Belichick is gonna coach Jacksonville, and I think that's what's gonna happen.
If Belichick takes that job, Travis Hunter will play there. But if Belichick is not there,
Yeah, I think that's how it. I think that's how it would go. But I would also taking Ted McMillan is just like taking. It's just as good as taking Travis, in my opinion. It's not as good, but it's up there. It's up there. He's a dynamic player.
So what you got to do now is just say to yourself, if it's not Ted, if it's not Travis Hunter, and you're picking fifth, who would you take if they're
that tackle from LSU?
I think we're gonna do some study on this. I don't think Broadus and Vaj had any of those tackles up in the top 10, so we probably need to look at that. But we'll talk about that on one of our other shows. So you ready to go ahead and wrap?
Yeah. So thank you all for the support. Thank you all for liking and commenting and subscribing. We're at 87 or 86 subscribers, and we're trying to get to 100. So we would appreciate it if you all share the videos and like and comment and subscribe. And also go check out our Facebook. And it's the name of our channel, which is Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks, or uh, Gen to Gen CAST. Is a shorter abbreviation of it. And so our next show, we're definitely looking towards the future and realistic outcomes.
Friday.
It's probably going to be Friday. And we know we got the Commanders coming up. So it'll be good to talk about the Commanders and what Dan Quinn has done with that organization. So we'll do a Cowboys Commanders preview. And then we'll also talk about the future as far as the draft goes and how you can build players and a few free agents that we see that's out there and things like that. So
you need to promote you're gonna do some short videos and have people look out for those. And then what I wanted to say is, as far as our channel, it is kind of, we started our channel, and it's kind of tough when you start a channel and the Cowboys are kind of going the way that they're going. So, but we're in it for the long haul. So, Cowboys, it's the Cowboys. Ain't nothing gonna change with that. They like the gold standard. So they're always gonna be in conversation. So, we're gonna be right here talking about it. So need everybody to just hang with us for the next 4 or 5 weeks and get through this season, because one thing for sure, our off season is gonna be like prime time. It's gonna be just something to talk about like every day. So that's what we're gonna be gearing up for us. In the meantime, we're just gonna hold the fort down with some content to tide us over. And so we're doing another revenge tour. We got another team that's gonna take revenge out on us Sunday. So we'll kind of be getting ready for that.
Yeah. So everybody get ready, because Washington is coming to town. Are we going to them or are they coming to us?
I think we play up there.
Oh, well, that's better. So we get to go up there and they're gonna try to
revenge.
They're gonna try to put 60 points on us. So everybody get ready, and it's okay, because you just say to yourself, well, we put 80 on y'all last year, and we blew y'all out twice, and it wasn't even close. And Deron Bland broke an NFL record on y'all. So you gotta take it. You gotta take the good with the bad when it comes to Cowboys. We having a bad year, and it's okay. So we're gonna go up there to Washington, and we're gonna take our licks, and we're gonna see y'all on the next one. So it is what it is. So y'all make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.